Alright guys, so welcome back to Gamer Today. Everyone is talking about the runes specifically from Loot Lake and Polar Peak. While many YouTubers and theorists alike have come up with the idea that Kevin the Cube might be returning, I think we need to question some of the ideas behind the return of Kevin the Cube. Why is Kevin the Cube back, and if so, where has he been all this time? We're going to talk about everything we know so far and the possible recreation of Kevin the Cube, or possibly or potentially a new entity. Many Fortnite players alike have been very focused on this main hatch door that's centered in Loot Lake. With the use of replay functionality and glitching through the floor, you can see it actually does have a chamber section. Now, what is in this massive chamber, we do not know yet. But many Fortnite players and Fortnite theorists have come up with the idea that Kevin the Cube is somewhere resting in this chamber. I'd like to question that. Is it Kevin the Cube that we're looking for, or is it something altogether new? And to answer that question, we must go back to Season 5 of Fortnite, the introduction of Kevin the Cube. Kevin the Cube came on the spot, and at the end of Kevin the Cube's journey, he ended up leaking into Loot Lake, basically into a whirlpool of Loot Lake, a little seed or sapling of the main cube. This leading to the point of possibly a recreation of Kevin the Cube, and this is where that theory does come from. Is Kevin the Cube hidden underneath the chamber of Loot Lake? Keep in mind, this must have been built by the government. That's what the agency who's been doing all the digging is called, the government. And we don't know if the government built this structure to actually contain the sapling or potential chance of a reincarnation of Kevin the Cube. This leads many theorists and speculations and a lot of players to basically determine the idea of Kevin the Cube is being held captive underground. And this is a potential chance. We do know by knocking on the metal we can actually hear a rumble, some sort of a, opening sound, some sort of a bounce around. We're not totally sure just yet what we're hearing, but we do know that there seems to be something in there. It doesn't sound totally hollow, and that seems to lead people to believe that Rune was underneath that metal, and now they're thinking Kevin the Cube. But why is that? And many people are speculating that Kevin the Cube will return because Season 5 did kind of give us the idea that he might come back, and we do remember that the sapling did drop into Loot Lake. Keeping this in mind, it's fair to believe in the reincarnation of Kevin the Cube, and I totally understand you guys. One of the biggest hints we've had has actually been the symbols on the runes, and if we look back at what Kevin the Cube did to the ground, he actually left symbols as he went as well. They kind of told the story of Kevin the Cube. Now we're also seeing obviously the new runes having totally different symbols, which kind of makes the question, is it something new, or is it Kevin the Cube reincarnated? Is it a clone of Kevin? We are not totally sure at this time, but there's so many different clues out there and there's so many different answers. We've got one of the biggest answers coming for you very shortly, but before we go there, let's take a look back at Kevin the Cube and what we actually do remember of Kevin the Cube. During the introduction of Kevin the Cube to the game of Fortnite, there was a lot of lightning that also came from a rift, and then obviously Kevin appeared, leaving many to believe that Kevin the Cube was an interdimensional being, and that's very possible. He did make some massive changes to the map of Fortnite as we know it, and obviously he's created a lot of havoc over the time he was actually around in the game of Fortnite. Now do keep in mind, from Season 5 to Season 6, Kevin the Cube played a huge effect in the actual story, but during Season 7 there was no talk about Kevin the Cube, and there was almost no remnants of Kevin, other than the rifts that were scattered around the map in certain places, and that was pretty much it. Then the whole focus was Season 8, and during Season 8 there has been almost no hints of Kevin the Cube's return, however, till now. But before we go there, let's take a look at what happened with Kevin the first time he appeared in the game, be leading into Season 6, of course, the final event for Kevin the Cube. So towards the end of Season 5, when Kevin the Cube finally moved into Loot Lake, he actually went underneath, well, basically what was water that turned into some sort of alien substance or some cubey, weird, gooey substance. We really don't know what it was. Basically, you can call it plasma, I guess, would be the best way of representing it. However, this plasma does harden as he goes through the lake. So as we see, the lake has basically become like an icy, well, spongy, almost like bouncy surface of plasma. And it almost became a solid piece of, land almost, or a solid piece rather than, water, which is what it was. So as the plasma, you can actually see like the glyphics, I think is what they call them, come off of it, which is pretty interesting. Then going into Season 6, we had a very interesting, very well done cutscene that showed basically the idea of this catastrophe that was going on for the world of Fortnite. Kevin the Cube actually comes from underneath Loot Lake here, and actually tears up a lot of Loot Lake and raises the water level with it, also bringing a whole platform that used to feature the house, which was the mainstay of basically Loot Lake for a very long time, and brought it all the way into the air, raising that house, which must have been some sort of a placement holder, distraction from what was actually hiding underneath it all along. And all this build-up leading into Season 6, which was called The Darkness Rises, which is pretty cool as a concept because Kevin rose from basically below Loot Lake all the way up in the air with, taking that building structure with him into the sky of, Fortnite over Loot Lake. And he hovered there for quite some time. And until the final event that happened in Season 6, which you guys can see here, featuring basically like a tornado that was keeping everything up there in the sky until a magic moment happens and the cube begins to actually spin. And as it spins, it's basically emitting some sort of purpley substance, and you guys can see this big ball of light just appear out of nowhere, and it's insane what ends up happening next. As you can see, shaking the entire world of Fortnite and creating a complete blind moment. This is the most fascinating thing I've seen yet in Fortnite. And the reason for it is we get teleported to a whole new land, perhaps of extraterrestrial origin. I'm not totally sure, but we're either inside our own mind, some sort of being's mind from another planet, or we're in some sort of trance, or meeting the gods of Fortnite. In itself, this is a very crazy moment in game of Fortnite, and we really don't have an explanation for it. Now, carrying forward with this, we end up finding something very interesting while we're in this new world, in this new land. Now, while we see all these white balls up in the air, and these plasma balls potentially, or some sort of balls we just can't explain of light, and then we see this massively glowing light which is being emitted high in the air in the center of this whole new world that we're in. And once you go towards this light, what ends up happening is even more insane. We actually find that this ball of light is not just a ball of light at all, but some sort of extraterrestrial being and or alien perhaps, or maybe even an angelic figure, as you guys can see coming down here with wings, and it actually basically transforms into a smaller figure altogether, leading to something very interesting to happen right here. And I don't really have an explanation for this, and I don't think anyone else does at this time either. We end up basically having some sort of a contact with this alien being, or this angelic figure, this angelic butterfly, if you will. We end up touching it, and basically it rests on our hand, and then what ends up happening is we get transported. Everybody in the lobby gets transported back to the main game of Fortnite. And while the catastrophe of Kevin seems to have been gone, we can see a nice halo in rainbow, almost signifying, basically, angelic signifying that we have basically completed this, and that we have defeated Kevin. However, we're left with stones in the middle of Loot Lake now that just don't make any sense. Why are they there? Are they rubble from the building that fell, which most people perhaps thought? But you can see that the actual material of those rocks are very different from the game of Fortnite, almost extraterrestrial in its sense. But fast forwarding back to present day, one of the big similarities between those rocks and what we have now in Loot Lake with this huge dome section is we are not able to hit it. However, we're able to hit the outside of it, yet we cannot break it. But we do hear a noise and we are able to actually make contact and bounce off it. However, the floor, we are not able to do so, meaning it's got no collider, which would indicate that it's probably there as some sort of an event item or some sort of event plan. And we do know that there is an event coming, as we see those runes are moving and placing in slots around the potential containment chamber which we see in the center. So that's very interesting to me. I don't know what it is that is going on just yet, but there's a bigger clue coming our way, and we're going to actually hit that right now on the head. Going to Tilted Towers, there is something very interesting in the very new building in Tilted Towers. If you go forward to that new building and you look to the right hand side, you're going to notice something quite interesting. And you might have noticed something already. There is a shard on the way in. That is a key telling point right there. But as we go in here, we actually have a full display of what is coming to the game of Fortnite. Because obviously there were no volcanoes before, and now we see, even though these are made of cardboard, that there is a story being told through these cardboard reincarnations. We have the volcano, Kevin the Cube, and the city of Tilted Towers, and what appears to be a rocket ship and or missile, and a bunch of rockets basically being shot, or missiles being shot, right? Not necessarily. Look closer, guys. If you look closer, you may see that these are actually meteors or asteroids of some sort coming down, which will end up actually hitting Tilted Towers, much like we've predicted long time ago. And of course, then we have to look at that shuttle. Is it a missile or is it a space shuttle? While we don't know if this is a rocket or a spaceship, what we do know is something from the sky is coming down towards Tilted Towers, which has been predicted for a very long time, and we do see cracks and many indications that something of Tilted Towers may not be going right. And we have had many direct confirmations of Tilted Towers being something that the creators of Fortnite do not necessarily like, because too many players go there early game, and at certain points of the history of Fortnite, it has actually crashed the game servers, and that has been a big problem for Fortnite. Now, while this is dispersed due to new locations being entered, and a lot of new things that they've come to the map and made it a little bit less, all in one place, it's still a problem. And what a better way to get rid of Tilted Towers or change Tilted Towers for the better of the game, according to Epic Games, than to actually use a story event to actually destroy part or maybe the entire city of Tilted Towers. This could be a great event for this game. Now, I don't know what is exactly going to happen, and I don't think anyone else out there does yet either. But there seems to be a consensus or a basic concept of the idea of reincarnation of Kevin the Cube, and I do believe there's a lot of reason to believe that, unless this new cube is a totally different entity, which we don't have any reason to believe at this time, based on the new facts that we've gotten within Season 8's last little update, and that little, Easter egg that we just showed you, which is very, very keen to tell us exactly what is going to happen for Fortnite Season 8, going into Season 9, of course. Many people are speculating that once all the runes actually meet their home in Loot Lake, this chamber section will open up, and maybe with a laser, or Kevin the Cube himself will reincarnate. We're not totally sure. As we've seen before, Kevin the Cube basically has some alternative powers, some sort of extraterrestrial, descent possibly, as he's been able to make rifts and basically travel through time itself, and possibly dimensions and or reality. We really don't know at this time. We do know that Kevin's done some amazing things when he was around, so we don't know what devastation he will do to the game or the map of Fortnite this time. The only thing we can be sure of at this time is that there's going to be a massive event, some sort of astrological event or mind-altering event with different dimensions of reality and different things like that going on. We don't know more than that, but we do know something big is coming. Is Kevin the Cube being held captive underneath Loot Lake in the chamber? And if so, why is it that he can't use his mystical powers to get out of there? We've seen that he's been able to basically bend time and reality and different things like that. Why is it he not able to get out of this? Is it something the government has basically built to contain him? Some sort of alloy or metal that is able to contain this beast? But if so, why is the government actually digging this up? I don't think the government actually put this there to contain Kevin the Cube, unless Kevin the Cube is there to save us from some sort of impending catastrophe to the world of Fortnite. I'm not totally sure. Is Kevin the Cube our savior or our disaster? Is he there to give us knowledge and power, or there to take it away from us all and maybe kill everyone in the game of Fortnite and ruin the world of Fortnite as we know it? We don't know yet. Devastation is definitely upon us. We don't know whose side anyone is on at this point. It's a no man's land. Anything all and everything goes. So I don't know what to tell you at this point other than the fact that something big is coming. Tell me in the comment section down below what you guys think. What will happen with Kevin the Cube? Is this impending disaster going to be from some sort of asteroids? And if so, what is going to happen? Tell me everything you guys think in the comment section down below. And if you did enjoy the video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. But as always, guys, until next time, it's been Gamer Today.